The alarm blared through the concrete walls of ADX Florence like a scream. Red lights flashed in the narrow hallway as steel doors slammed shut one after another. Officers shouted codes over the radio. "Unit Delta lockdown! Possible breach!" In cell 313, an inmate named Marcus Hale stood frozen, staring at the small piece of metal he had spent months carving from a food tray. His heart raced. The sound of boots echoed closer. He had finally done what no one was supposed to be able to do, tamper with the locks of a Supermax cell. But as he reached for the vent above his toilet, the red light outside his door blinked on. A voice on the intercom said, "Inmate 313, step back from the wall." Marcus froze. The camera in the corner was watching. The question was, how did they know? 3 days earlier, Marcus sat silently on his concrete bed, tracing cracks in the gray wall. ADX. Florence wasn't like any other prison. Here, everything was built to break your mind before it broke your body. The doors were solid steel, the windows were 4 inches wide, and every meal came through a slot smaller than a book. He hadn't touched another person in 8 years. The guards didn't talk, and the cameras never blinked. Every step he took, every breath he made, someone, somewhere, was watching it live. Yet, Marcus had a plan, a dangerous one. He started small. A piece of foil from a food packet became a mirror. The string from his uniform pants became a measuring line, and a broken plastic spoon, filed on the floor for weeks, became the start of something more. In ADX, they called it the clean version of hell. The walls weren't dirty, but the silence was. Even whispers echoed like thunder. Marcus had spent months studying the rhythms, when the lights dimmed, when the cameras shifted, and when the air vents clicked. There was a pattern, and he believed if he could find the blind spot, he could slip through it. The world outside his cell had long forgotten him. Once a brilliant engineer turned criminal, Marcus had tried to outsmart the government with $1 million cyber theft. Now, he was caged with some of the most dangerous men alive: terrorists, cartel bosses, and spies. Each of them trapped in their own soundproof box. No talking, no touching. Just the endless hum of the ventilation and the metallic echo of food trays. Even letters were scanned, reprinted, and censored. No one escaped from here. Once, during recreation hour, the only hour of sunlight inmates ever saw, Marcus looked up. The yard was no yard at all. It was a small cage with concrete walls and a patch of sky above it, shaped like a triangle. He thought of birds flying past that patch of sky. Freedom was close enough to see, yet too far to touch. That image haunted him. When he returned to his cell, he started keeping track of everything: sound patterns, camera angles, and power flickers during storms. And one night, the power blinked out for exactly 2 seconds. He began crafting small tools from things no one would suspect: bits of foil, toothbrush bristles, melted plastic from food containers. Hidden under the concrete sink, his project grew. He didn't need to escape the entire prison, just one level. He had seen blueprints once, flashed on a guard's tablet during maintenance. There were tunnels beneath ADX, service ducts, sewage lines, ventilation shafts, but they weren't big enough for a man. Still, Marcus thought differently. He didn't want to run outside. He wanted to reach the control. One night, as thunder rolled over the mountains, Marcus tested his first move. He used the tip of his tool to unscrew a vent cover. It took an hour to loosen one bolt. When he peered inside, he saw wires, thin, glowing red and blue. He knew one wrong cut could trigger alarms across the block. But he noticed something else: a small panel sealed with epoxy. Behind that panel, he believed, was a blind spot, a place even the cameras couldn't see. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from hope. In the morning, the guards ran their usual checks. A robot cart rolled down the hall delivering trays. Cameras zoomed in on each door slot. When Marcus's turn came, he smiled faintly and took his breakfast. Nothing seemed different. But deep in his cell, under the vent, a thin crack now existed where none should have been. He spent the rest of the day pretending to sleep. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the cameras shifted for their nightly recalibration cycle. That gave him exactly 11 seconds. He pulled the foil mirror under the camera angle and slid his tool into the bolt turned halfway before a clicking sound froze him. It wasn't the camera, it was the floor sensor. ADX had them under every cell, designed to detect even the smallest weight change. He froze mid-step. His pulse raced so loud he swore it would trip the mic. Seconds passed. Nothing happened. He breathed again, turned the bolt, and the vent cover came loose. Inside was a small black junction box labeled Service Access A12. Marcus smiled. He had found what no one else had ever seen. Then he froze as the siren started. Boots pounded down the hall. "Lockdown! Full lockdown!" a guard shouted. Marcus's tool fell to the ground, clinking loudly. He backed against the wall, staring at the blinking red camera light. He could hear cell doors slamming one by one, metal after metal, echoing like thunder through the tier. Someone had triggered the alarm. He looked at the vent, then at the camera. The voice came through the speaker again, calm but sharp. "Inmate 314, step away from the wall." His secret was exposed. Or was it? Marcus froze. The voice in the intercom didn't belong to any guard he knew. It was low, calm, and slightly distorted, like it was coming from somewhere deep inside the system. "Keep going, Marcus. You're not alone." His heart pounded as he stared at the red camera light blinking above the cell door. "Who are you?" he whispered, but no answer came. Then, silence. The red light turned green again, and the alarm suddenly stopped. Down the hall, the sound of boots faded, leaving only the hum of the air. The next morning, everything felt normal again. Breakfast came through the slot, lights flicked on at the same time, and the guards made their silent rounds. But Marcus couldn't shake what he'd heard. He sat on his bed, eyes on the intercom. Was it another inmate somehow hacking into the system? Impossible. No one in ADX could even see another person, much less talk to them. Yet, as he looked around, he noticed something new. The small camera in the top corner wasn't pointing straight ahead anymore. He needed to test it. When the next count came, Marcus leaned against the wall and spoke softly. "If you can hear me, say something." For a long moment, there was nothing. Then the lights flickered once, barely noticeable, but enough for him to know it wasn't random. Someone was watching. Someone who could control what happened inside ADX. Marcus sat down, his mind racing. If they can get in, he thought, maybe I can get out. That night, he started tracing wires again inside the vent. His hands shook as he felt around the small box labeled Service Access A12. When he gently lifted the panel, he found a tiny port the size of a pencil eraser. His old engineering instincts kicked in. It was a diagnostic port, something maintenance crews used for internal system checks. If he could tap into it, he might be able to see the internal grid or camera feeds. But he needed a conductor, something metallic. He looked at his tool. It was bent, scratched. The vent lights blinked, then his intercom crackled. The same distorted voice returned. "Careful, Marcus. They'll notice you." He whispered back, "Who are you?" The voice paused. "Someone who's been here longer than you think." The static grew louder. "They built this place to be escape-proof, but even machines break." Marcus asked, "Why help me?" The voice said, "Because I can't leave, but you might." Then the intercom went dead. The next few days, he tested the connection at different times. Sometimes the lights would flicker like a coded signal. Other times, he heard faint whispers, almost like breathing through static. Meanwhile, the guards seemed uneasy. One morning they searched the cells on his tier, something that rarely happened. Through the slit in his door, Marcus saw them checking vents, walls, even food trays. One guard muttered, "System's glitching again. Cameras froze at 0213 last night." Late one night, the voice returned. "Marcus, the hub is beneath D block. The access vent you opened connects to it, but you'll need to reach the lower duct." He whispered back, "That's sealed. No one's ever been there." The voice said calmly, "There's a maintenance hatch below the toilet. You'll have 5 minutes before the pressure alarms reset." Marcus looked down at the floor. The idea sounded insane, but everything about ADX already was. He waited until the lights dimmed. He pried it open, revealing a narrow tunnel filled with pipes and wires. Hot air rushed upward, stinging his eyes. He slipped inside, heart pounding, crawling through the tight space. The air smelled like rust and chemicals. Every sound echoed. His breathing, the creak of the metal. After a few feet, he saw it. A square metal hatch with a glowing keypad. "It's locked," he whispered. The voice came through again, faint but steady. "Use your tool on the bottom edge." Inside was a dimly lit room no bigger than his cell, filled with blinking servers and cables. It was the prison's internal system hub, the brain of ADX Florence. He stared in awe. "You're inside," the voice said. "Now listen carefully. To open a door, you need 2 codes. One comes from command, one from the maintenance system. I can give you one. You'll have to find the other." Marcus started typing on the small terminal screen. Data flickered. Camera feeds, cell schematics, names. The figure in the cell looked older, worn, but identical to him. Same scar, same face. Marcus's breath caught. "Who is that?" he whispered. The voice over the intercom crackled, louder now. "I told you, I've been here longer than you think." The figure on the screen slowly lifted his head and looked straight into the camera, as if he could see Marcus watching. Then the power flickered. The screens went black. Alarms began to scream again. The voice said one final thing before the line died. The lights in the underground room flashed violently, painting the walls in red and white. Marcus stumbled backward as sirens blared through the ducts above. The air smelled of smoke and burning wires. On the blacked-out monitor in front of him, faint letters began to type by themselves. "Run." He turned toward the tunnel, but the hatch had sealed shut. Metal locks hissed into place. Then, from the speakers above, came the same distorted voice, no longer calm, but frantic. "Marcus, If this story left you on the edge, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for the next episode of our true crime series. Your support helps us uncover more shocking stories from inside the world's most dangerous prisons. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next part of Why No One Escapes, ADX Florence, Supermax Prison Explained.